idea as to what was expected of me. Maybe not to the level that was expected, and maybe I didn't get it right every time. We don't always get it right every time, definitely not. But I think I knew what was expected of me, and I think the hard thing for me was often that I was doing what was expected and needed at that level. I don't really like other people's expectations, kind of full stop. I think they can be detrimental, but I was able to manage all those different aspects of the VIS. And I think that was what was frustrating, is that I was managing all those kind of things, but then, I wasn't being picked at the next level. So what did I have to do to, crack the next level? For me, it wasn't the professionalism. My professionalism has never been questioned.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas I'd say I look at other athletes and I'm like, come on, just turn up to training on time and, get the nutrition right, get all these aspects right, and your talent and skill will hold you in really good stead. Whereas I was doing lots of things right, but my body was not taking care of me with my chronic and among other health issues that I had.
Yeah. Apart from that aside, what else was challenging? Like, what challenged you apart from that kind of period?
I then got glandular fever.
Yep.
That's what it's called. So I had that. I also had a massive issue with, my skin folds. So in terms of, I was barely eating, and I preface this with a bit of a warning: don't not eat, don't fuel, don't listen. Don't take on board what I've said and think it works, because it didn't work. So I cut my nutrition as not low as I could, but very, very low, under the guidance of staff members, because we were trying to get my skin folds down, and instead I put on more weight.
Instead you put on more weight.
Yeah. So I basically, on reflection, Red-S didn't exist then, but I had Reds. My RMR or BMR, the resting metabolic rate, was like most people's. You might be better at knowing exactly what they are. I think often people are at 800 calories a day. Is that correct?
Oh, I have no idea.
Let's say most people are at 800 calories, and as a human not exercising, and I was exercising, and mine was like in the high 400s, low 500s. So I was barely burning through anything, because I had cut my food so much, my body basically went, from my understanding, into survival. Like literally, like, I'm holding on to anything you feed me.
So what tests did they do to figure that out?
Yeah, so similar to a VO2 max test, when you've got all, like, you're fully attached. I would have all the attachments, but I'd be lying on a bed. I'd just woken up in the morning, and they would monitor my breathing, basically.
Yeah. So how long were you lying? Was it a whole night?
No, 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was early days. This was like 2015, 16. So I did some at the AIS, and then the VIS got on board too, which was really cool. Had plenty of DEXA scans as well. And it was a really awful time, because, again, as I think I said earlier, the professionalism for me was something that came naturally. But I was being so professional. I felt like I was doing everything I could and right, but my body wasn't taking care of
it. Must have been incredibly frustrating.
Oh, I can't even explain. And then when I had people willing to commentate and provide commentary who weren't professionally, this is not at the VIS, but outside, provide commentary on what was going on, even though that they weren't professionally trained in that area, was, pretty awful. And to be honest, I am so thankful and fortunate that I had the dietitian nutritionist that I had at the VIS to provide a sounding board and to be that person that would back me up and that would support me. And, I would go in to have my skin folds done, and I'd go see her on a weekly basis. Didn't have my skin folds done on a weekly basis, but would see her very, very frequently, and be in tears pretty much every single time, because it was like, why isn't it working? Like, I'm doing everything, not anger at her, but like, I'm doing everything you're saying. I'm following, if you want to get fitter, go run, go to a conditioning, you're probably going to get fitter. But I was doing everything I should have done and needed to do, and I wasn't seeing any change. I was just getting worse.
Yeah. That's hard. Yeah. Because, no matter, because you're doing everything right, and this wasn't happening. So how did that eventually subside, and was it just something that clicked, or?
Yeah, so I think it was interrelated with my chronic. So that would have obviously slowed down, I guess, everything. And I mean, we've seen more and more with Red-S these days that if you eat less and less, how it can negatively impact. It doesn't positively impact your performance. It negatively impacts your performance. And I basically had to shock my metabolism. So I would increase my amount of food each day by like...
Each day?
Yeah. But like very, very...
Yeah, but
small, each day for a week, let's say. So I would eat...
okay, yeah.
like an extra 100 kilojoules, which is tiny. That's nothing. It's like a couple of almonds a day. So I'd have a couple extra almonds. That's how I used to explain it to people, a day for that entire week. And then the next week we'd go, rather than having 3 almonds, I'd have 5 each day for that week, and then slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly. And it's something I'll forever manage. I think my metabolism isn't quick. It's not as quick as other athletes. I can't just eat whatever I want. Yep. I have to be really, really meticulous with what I consume. But that's my challenge. I don't typically touch wood. I don't get injured. I haven't been really injured. Oh, nice. I get knocks. I get hit. As a defender, that's pretty common. But yeah, I haven't had many injuries, which is very fortunate. But I've just had other health struggles and challenges.
That's in the bodybuilding circle, that kind of what you mentioned, the shock in the metabolism, is what they use that as a reverse dieting. So once they go into once they've dieted down and they've competed in a competition, they've done their posing and that sort of stuff, they usually take a day and they can, they have the hamburgers, they'll do whatever they starve themselves for. But usually they do post, so about 6 weeks post, they will go to like a reverse diet, and they'll incrementally increase their calorie input over the 6 weeks period. And then what they usually see is the first 2 to 3 weeks, they actually look better than when they were on the night of the competition, because their body's being fed food and they're starving, and they just burn through it so quickly. So it's also a way to, if bodybuilders who've done it poorly, they go and they just binge out for 3 or 4 weeks, and then because their body's in survival mode, they just stack on a massive amount of weight of fat, because they're just storing it because they know they're going to have to go into this survival mode.
Yeah.
So this whole reverse dieting is a way of kind of protecting your metabolism and not blowing out